Auburn got the job done last night as your free pick winner as the Tigers delivered with the road winning cover in Starkville against Mississippi State. Another free college football selection coming your way in just a moment on Houston and UTEP. Plus, I'm also going to take a look and preview that Marshall, West Virginia contest for you as well. Hi everyone, Al DeMarco here. This is going to be your Friday video report. Remember, Saturday's report, as are Sundays. The weekend's always up much earlier in the day, 9 a.m. Eastern Time at the latest. But for your Friday card, before we get going here and looking at the college football games, the NFL season, of course, kicking off last night with New Orleans and Minnesota. That game falling on 14-9 your final. And I'll tell you what a pain in the ass it was to grade that game. As you know, I grade all the games for all the handicappers here. And I think one of the big misconceptions that gamblers out there have is that games are graded by the closing line. Well, that's total BS. Because do you bet on the closing line? Do you wait till the last minute to put your bet in on most games? No, 99% of you do not. Why would I ever grade a game on the closing line? But a lot of guys think that's how you determine whether a handicapper wins or loses. In reality, what I do, because I obviously don't know where you're playing or when you're playing, and when I say where, whether you're playing with the local bookmaker and where he's basing his line on, whether you're playing here or there offshore, or whether you're here in Vegas playing up and down the strip, where the line yesterday was anywhere in that game from 4.5 to 5.5 points, depending on when you wagered it as well. Some of the casinos here went anywhere from 4.5 up to 5.5 as the day moved. Some places that line was 5. It jumped up for no good reason that I could tell for a half hour to 5.5, then back down to 5, ping pong back to 5.5, closed at 5. Offshore, that one notorious sports book where you always pay more if you're interested in paying favorites, the line was -6. Well, that one notorious sports book as well came in handy if you like playing the dogs, because you're always going to get that extra point or half point without paying for that privilege. Most places offshore, though, I found that that game was pretty much 5.5. So I ended up calling the game a win for all the handicappers that had the Minnesota Vikings. Yet I realize one hell of a lot of you players out there may have walked away with a push on that game. Some of you may have even won with New Orleans last night. But I think the fair thing to do is simply call the game a win for the Vikings. And everybody that had New Orleans, tough luck, even if your customers did happen to have the winning side. Of course, I avoided that dilemma. I used New Orleans in a teaser last night with Temple. Had to sweat out both games as the Owls blew a late lead. Had to go into overtime, come up with an interception on Central Michigan's first possession, and then converted it into the game-winning field goal, 13-10. As I had in the teaser, Temple -1, along with New Orleans, of course, getting a half point to 1 point against Minnesota. So 6-1 NFL run, including the 5-1 end to the preseason, with the NFL first big Sunday just 48 hours away. As we get to your games tonight, you know, Marshall, West Virginia, I'm not going to lose any sleep over this one if I happen to not watch this one on TV. I mean, Marshall got crushed at Ohio State last week in their opener 45-7, but what do you expect? Marshall's supposed to get crushed by Ohio State when they're playing in the horseshoe. You know what I mean? I will tell you this, the Thundering Herd 6-0-1 against the spread their last 7 as a home dog of 6 or more points, and they're getting a bucket full of points this evening. As for West Virginia, you know, Bill Stewart never impressed me as a coach. I still am wondering how the hell they gave the job to him after Rich Rodriguez abandoned them for the Michigan job in Ann Arbor. Under Bill Stewart, West Virginia 2-10. Their last 12 when laying points. Last year was a 20.5 point favorite at home. They only managed to win 24-7. Now, they have outscored Marshall, of course, in the last 4 games, 141-43. West Virginia opened up with a 31-0 win against Coastal Carolina. Me, you, and 9 other guys could have beaten Coastal Carolina by 31 points. They did only give up 186 yards total defense in that contest. West Virginia, interesting stat, 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 weeknight road outings. As I said, I want to touch this game if you paid me, guys. Now, the other game is UTEP and Houston. Remember last year, Houston was coming off back-to-back upsets. They had beaten Texas Tech. They had taken care of business against Oklahoma State, and then they ran into UTEP at and they were a 14.5-point favorite in that game. What happens naturally? UTEP beats the hell out of them last year, 58-41, getting 14.5 points, winning it outright. The big running back for UTEP, Donald Buckram, last year's game, 268 yards on 32 carries and 4 touchdowns. Problem is tonight, he didn't even participate in Wednesday's walkthrough practice. He missed the first game of the season against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Yes, that's who UTEP opened up against, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Missed that game, a 31-10 victory, not exactly an impressive blowout, right, by the Miners. Missed that game because of a knee injury, bruised knee. Questionable to doubtful for tonight's rematch. Houston, of course, you know they've had this game circled on their calendar. The Cougars come in here, Case Keenum. If you haven't seen this guy play, if you think Kevin Cobb, the Eagles starting quarterback, played well in the Houston system, you should see what Case Keenum has done. This guy really lights up the scoreboard. 5 touchdown passes in one half of action against Texas State in their opener, 17 of 22, 224 yards. This guy in last year's game, the loss to UTEP, 51 for 76. 76 attempts, completed 51 of them, 5 touchdowns, 536 yards, 0 interceptions. Now that's really impressive. You throw the ball 76 times, 0 interceptions, and you're playing from behind. Turnovers killed Houston in last year's game. Yes, they're laying 20.5 points tonight, but as I said, it's definitely a revenge situation. The only way you can play this game is to take the Houston Cougars, who have won 16 straight games straight up at home. That's the 4th longest home winning streak in college football, in fact. So at Robertson Stadium, go with them here. And again, they're in revenge, so why not give it a shot with Houston? And that is going to be your play. Houston would be a great team, by the way, if you were interested in doing a teaser tonight. Problem is, I couldn't sit here and vouch for taking West Virginia down or taking Marshall plus the points in a 2-team 6-point teaser. So if you're going to play it, Houston's a play. As I said, I'm not exactly enthralled with the play, but I've said that a couple other times this week and hit both those plays as well. Good luck, everybody, and I'll catch you again on Saturday.